Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 23rd, 2021 at approximately 10:20 a.m. PST. You know, I start that a lot that way, but anyway, before I get into it, let's try and get this turned around a little, shall we? If you like the video, I'd love to see a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring the alert bell, to let you know when the next one comes out. One of the biggest goals that I've got is to get a very simple message out to the entire world. That means everybody with video, everybody with video is connected to. I return for one message to get passed out, and that is that working together, we can make this a better world for most people. Better meaning no war, no famine, no greed, and no jealousy. Okay, now there are some other ones. Okay, the reality is what are called... Now, let's start with the obvious issue. These all fall under the purview of three laws, and these are the only three laws that I bother focusing on. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others what you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Now, if you take a look at all of the guidelines that you work with, whether they're under a religious purview, a spiritual guideline, a coven, a support crew such as the support crew for people that suffer from PTSD, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. When you're looking at all of those, now I've checked into those ones, not to mention a few others, but if you take a look at the guidelines that govern those, you'll find, at least I did, that every one of the guidelines can actually fit underneath those three that I just listed off. Okay, now, with that in mind, something to really understand, and I'm going to pause that for a sec. Hate that, get an itchy nose, don't want to deal with that, but if you follow those guidelines, you compare them to the three karmic laws, you'll find they all fit inside it. Now, here's the thing that every single living creature, every single entity in existence has in common. And this is what binds all of us. Now, I've talked about us being all connected. And here's one of the major connection points. All things in existence are born or start at some point, and they all end at some point, except energy itself. Now, sentient energy dissipates and forms into something else. Okay, but especially when we take a look at humans themselves, okay, we all are at the same point in existence. We are all right here, right now, at this moment. And this is the only time in existence that you can do anything. You cannot do anything in the past that you haven't already done, because the past is already written. It's already gone past. Hence why they call it the past. The future, you can plan on doing things in the future, but until you get to the point that you're planning on, you can't do anything anyway. So, we're back to the right here, right now. And this is why I talk about the idea of where energy is sitting, on how energy flows in your home. Okay, if you've been following the journey, I've covered many of that in past recordings. Now, these are live recordings, meaning that I don't go back and edit them. Okay, quirks, hiccups, whatever, the words I stumble on. If you run into me in person, you'll find I talk the exact same way. Not quite so much in the way of hams. Okay, even if I'm sitting down at a restaurant with somebody, I don't tend to talk with my hands a whole lot. But as far as speech patterns go, when I say something, I back up and go, like, for instance, if I go, I can't do that. You'll find, even in person, I'll go, I can't do that. Well, I really could do that, but I'm just not that interested, or it's a bad idea, or whatever. Okay, but I was talking to somebody the other day, okay, and here's the reality behind it. The tools I offer are tools that, if they apply to me, okay, if they apply to my life personally, I'm already putting them to use. This does not mean they're the best tools out there. There may be ones that work more effectively out there. But if you haven't found one, okay, the tools that I offer are ones that have been proven. Either I use them and they work successfully, or I've shared them with enough other people and gotten feedback. An example of that is I've shown a lot of people how to quit smoking without having side effects, without having withdrawals, without any sort of additional medication, without any sort of operation. Okay, I've done the same thing where it comes to helping people with eyesight. Okay, these are tools that I personally use. Now, I have a pretty serious problem where it comes to trying to trust medical. Okay, and that's a personal problem. But I will tell you, even the doctors have things that are useful. Okay, a lot of them. And if you're having troubles, go and talk to the doctors. The only one doctor that I strongly recommend you avoid like the plague is Google Doctor. And what I mean by that is, use Google to find a doctor, absolutely. But don't go looking up the symptoms for your illness. Because the odds are there's too many variables out there for you to accurately identify it. This said, when you go to a doctor, talk to the doctor, get their input, and double check the information by going and talking to a pharmacist, especially where medication is concerned. Okay, now one of the things, the one that I want to deal with today, okay, is this issue of what do you do when you're striving to change your world and you think you've got it all going in the right direction, you think things are moving better, and then you find out you made a massive oversight. Okay, how do you cope with that? How do you get back on track? Well, the trick to it is simple. Okay, real easy to say, a royal pain in the neck to try and implement. But the trick to getting back on track is to look at what you've done and where you're standing. Prime example, okay, at the beginning of this year, my mom's estate cleared, and I ended up with a lot of money that came to me. Okay, now, right off the bat, I did the right thing. I took a massive chunk of it and invested it in something for my future. Let's face it, I'm 58, I'm only going to work so many years. Mind you, if things go the way that they did with my dad, I'm 58, I'll get another 20, 25 years work before I get around to quitting. Okay, my dad never knew how to retire either, and there's a lot of people out there, a lot of you guys, that, you hit 65, it's like, you have to retire. But I'm not ready to retire. So, I found a way around that. Okay, for me, it's real simple. Okay, I've obviously got the videos going on. I am a working psychic. I call myself a spiritual guide because I don't personally like the term psychic. Too many negative connotations have come up. Okay, but I'm also an author, and this is where things get a little screwy. Okay, this is one of the books that I've dealt with. This is a novel. Okay, science fiction, science fantasy, depending on how you look at it. Okay, that's Birth of the Wolf Pack. Now, it is actually available on either through me at one of the contact points directly below. Okay, or you can look it up online. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Barnes & Noble. You can get it on authorhouse.com. Okay, this is one of the things that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. Okay, between the videos and the writing that I've got, because that's only one of several books. I'm actually working on 32 others at the same time. Okay, so I got a lot of writing material to do, and a lot of information that's going to come out over videos. But what I got a little sidetracked there. That's normal for me. When you get off track, now, like I said, I ended up with a staggering amount of money that came in. Okay, first thing I did was I took the massive majority of it went into an investment or into multiple investments to make sure that I can relax regarding finances down the road. Okay, but then I paid off all the debts I had. Okay, and that worked out great. Got them all paid off. And then come May, I realized that I had forgotten that I hadn't corrected the thinking process. Okay, net result, I was going back into the same bin that I was in before. Now, I could sit here and go, oh, I'm so depressed, I've done such a lousy job, and rest assured, I went through about 15 minutes of that. Okay, which is so much better than going into a tailspin. Okay, but I looked in the mirror and I went, okay, I messed up badly. So I've got to reassess how I'm doing things and I've got to get back on track. Now, how did I get back on track? Well, I looked at it and went, okay, at least this time, okay, and the trick is this, find something positive about what you learned from going off track again. In my case, I figured out, okay, yes, I went off track. I did the same stupid things all over again. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I call it stupid because I knew better and did it anyway. At least that's what I keep telling myself. But then I realized, well, in all fairness, if I knew better, if it had really sunk in, I wouldn't have done it again. As it stands now, I know exactly what I did wrong. Okay, so I'm looking at it going, okay, I messed up. So what do? I took a step back and went, okay, where's my finances? What am I standing on? And what do I need? And what do I require to get back on track? So got that organized. And now I have a definitive plan that even with the fact I don't have a lot of money left in the bank. Okay. But even with that in mind, I've got a battle plan where I can live inside my own finances now without digging a hole in my pocketbook. But as I've mentioned before, you minimize the negative. Minimize the negative. Okay, I've got a financial mess. What do I do with it? And there are many of you out there in this exact same boat. You were really behind the eight ball. You got a massive lump sum of money into your hands all in one shot. You did the immediate, and then you went right back to the same thing you were doing before. So minimize the negative. Acknowledge the fact you walked into that road. Okay. Oops. Banged my head on the wall. Did a real dumb move. Walked right back into it. Now what do? So the negative is you look at that, you acknowledge it. I did it. Then you turn around and go, what do I do now? Well, we start with the I did it. How about if we stop doing that? Okay. I was spending a staggering amount of money without actually paying much attention to what I was doing. When I first started clearing my debts, I was tracking them solidly. Okay, I'd come home from wherever I'd gone. I'd write it down on a spreadsheet. And then I got away from doing that. And that was one of the mistakes. And I'd leave it alone for 3 or 4 days or a week. And then I'd go back through and I still had all my receipts. And I'd go back through and I would track it through what the bank told me I'd done. Well, the problem with that was it didn't keep me right on top of it. So all of a sudden, I'd be going through the money. I wouldn't be tracking it solidly on a day-to-day basis. And net result, I ended up losing, or, well, not losing, but spending all of that and most of the remainder of that inheritance. Now, I did help a number of people. I've mentioned this before. Okay, and I still follow the same philosophy that I had in the way of I still don't put a lot of weight behind money as far as it doesn't make people better. But the mistake that I made was I got off the idea of tracking on a daily basis when I come home from being out. When I started doing this, I'd come home, I'd sit down at the computer, I'd enter the data on what I had done, balance it out, and then carry on. I got away from doing that because, well, frankly, I got lazy. Paperwork is boring stuff to me. Now, some people, some people get really excited about making sure everything runs tickety-boo. In all fairness, I really don't. Okay. I get very, it's called what's the word I'm looking for? Minutia. If I remember the word right, I believe it's called the minutia of what's going on. The little itty-bitty parts of trying to make things work. What I end up doing is I'll take a look at a big picture and go, that's what I'm aiming for. And then I'll start working towards it. Now, this said, that's why I've got 32 different books on the go at the same time. And I love the way one analyst put it. And well, in all fairness, he was a psychologist. Actually, he was a psychiatrist. But anyway, I'd asked if I'm ADD or ADHD or anything like that, anything at all. And he goes, he did the assessment. And he goes, nope, you're not. He says, the fact that you get things finished says you're not ADD or ADHD. The fact that you're getting them finished of your own accord, using whatever method, but you're not relying on somebody else. Okay. This funny little list that I keep here. Okay. That list is how I manage to get things done. So, he said, because you get things finished of your own accord, you're not ADD or you're not ADHD. Now, I am not a medical doctor, and I don't know if that was a good diagnosis or not. But it's the same one I've had from 3 different psychiatrists. Okay. So and then he finished off with, granted, you'd get things done a lot faster if you'd focus on only 1 or 2 instead of 32. Okay, and in all fairness, when he told me, I was only working on 30 books at the same time. So it hasn't exactly slowed down. But that list, and I always keep the list at things that are 15 minutes to half an hour in length at the most. Okay, and the reason for that is because that way I can get them down racked off, and by the end of the day, I actually feel like I've got something accomplished. But the commitment I had to make to myself, and I realized this, in all fairness, I realized this in really the crux of it. I realized back in May I'd done something stupid. I'd gotten off track somewhere and put myself back in the same boat. Now, the neat part about it is I realized that in May and I started adjusting accordingly. Okay, I killed off the spending, but I still hadn't identified how it went off track until literally just before getting on track here, or getting on the show today. Okay, that's when I realized the real turning point was when I stopped coming through the door, sitting down, and entering my data on my financial spending right then. That's where I got off track. After that, it cascaded out of control. Okay, so needless to say, this means effective right here, right now, in the present. Right here, right now, is when I stop that. So is when that comes to a grinding halt. Which means I get done this video, I go off, I've got a couple errands I've got to do at the end of this video. So I will go off and deal with them. And as soon as I get home, I will get onto the computer and I will enter the data right then. Because again, in the here and now is the only time you can accomplish anything. But now I could stay focused on the idea of, oh, I messed up. Okay. Oh, woe is me. I'm such a failure. Now, I could do that, and Lord knows I've done that before. And I know many of you have done the same thing. I messed up. Okay. There are a number of you that have tried getting off alcohol. You've tried getting off drugs. Okay. And then you mess up. And you fall on, they do what they call falling off the wagon. Okay, I'll tell you, I've fallen off the wagon and I've been a drinker. Falling off the wagon hurts a lot more in the immediate, but because I used to drink a 26er a night without even thinking about it. Okay, but you can, hey, if you're a drinker and you've quit and you have stopped drinking for any length of time, it was a day, a week, a month, I don't care. Okay, and do your best yourself not to care. Look at it and go, okay, I was drinking. I was drinking daily. I've stopped. Now, let's say you stopped for a month. And this same thing applies to the people that know people in these boats. But we'll start with the ones that are in the boat. You've stayed on track for a little while, okay, and you got off track. Yeah, you stumbled, you fell. Well, take a look at a kid when they're learning to walk. They don't know how to walk to start with, so they stand up, they take a couple of steps, they fall down. If you're used to drinking, okay, and you're striving to break that cycle, if you're used to doing drugs, and you've decided that whether you're deciding to try and break that cycle because you decided to, or because you actually listen to somebody else saying you've got to look at a different way, and you get up, you take a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a month, and you don't do that, and then you go back and you drink again, or you go back and you have another drug, or you go back and you spend money you shouldn't have, like go to the casino and you go, oh, woe is me, I'm such a failure. You can go back in that if you want. Okay, but I will tell you, if you look at it and go, yes, I fell down. Now I'm going to stand up and I'm going to go again. Like riding a bike. You know, once you fall off, you're riding a bike, you're riding a horse, you get thrown off it. The best move is to get back on it as soon as you realize what's happened. Get back on it right away. Dust yourself off and go, okay, here we go. One step at a time. Now, the average time to break a habit is 21 days. Okay, from what I've seen. Now, it's also 21 days to forge a habit. If you've been at it for a long time, like where it came to finances, I've been at it for, well, I'm 58 now, so realistically, I was at it for almost 58 years. Okay, where I never paid attention to what my finances were doing and dug myself into a crater. Now, that being said, obviously the first run at breaking didn't work as well as I would have liked. But I was talking to an alcoholic one day that had gone through the program himself, through the AA program, 4 times, and was scheduled to get back on the horse and go back through it a 5th time when I met him. I take a look at that man and go, okay, he desired to break his drinking habit. I desire to break my spending habits. What's the difference? In quantifiable forms, not a whole lot. He's consuming alcohol. I'm throwing money out the window. But we're both behind the 8 ball, and we both desire to change. So yes, I fell off the wagon, as it were. I quit tracking where my money was. You likely have done this yourself. Got yourself sort of out of debt and dug yourself right back in again. Okay, get back up. Start all over again. Okay, but the reality is, once you've done it once, you can do it. I talked to a millionaire one day, and as he put it, he said he started off as a pauper, worked his way up to a millionaire, and then he lost all his money and ended up a pauper again. And he said the second time he did that, it was easier to get back to the millionaire status because he already had paved the way. It wasn't a smooth run, but he knew the steps to take it. Same as you, if you've fallen off and you dug yourself out, you know where you're going. In my case, I dug myself out, took a windfall, wiped out the debt, and then went and did the silly thing and put myself right back in the same boat with the one sole exception. I dug myself out and I figured out what the formula was. So at this point, I'm moving forward again, effective today, right here, right now. This is the one thing that we all have in common. No matter how you got to where your life is, right here, right now is where you are. And this is the only time in your existence that you will ever be able to do anything. This doesn't mean down the road you won't get to another point where you can do something. Every moment that passes, the new moment comes in. That is the right here, right now. And you can constantly alter the way the energy around you is working in order to get yourself back on what you consider reasonable track. Now, with this in mind, give yourself a pat on the back, stand up, dust yourself off. Okay, if you've dug yourself into a financial bind, and I'm going to deal with that again tomorrow, I think, because I'm bringing this to a close at this time. So again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to get this message out to the entire world that together we can make this a better world for most people. Okay, but it's going to require the assistance of every single one of you taking care of the stuff in your own immediate world. Don't worry about how everybody else sees it. Do your best not to. There's a lot of you out there that worry about things. However, that being said, don't forget to check that alert bell to let you know when the next video comes out. Okay, but right here, right now, is the only time in your life that you're going to be able to change anything. It's the only time. You can plan all you want, but right here, right now, is the only time you can do it. And you're the only person in existence that can be successful for you. Okay, so that said, I'm going to bring this to a close today, and I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, but until then, until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.